Hello, guys. Today we're going to talk about pauperism, the impact of pauperism in South Africa. And we talk about 30th June deadline for all the immigrants in South Africa, African immigrants to leave South Africa. And we're going to talk about the recent threat by Ramaphosa, the president of South Africa, about to the threat he made about all these ruffians that are demonstrating and causing trouble and making a threat and giving a deadline of 30th June. If you don't leave, something bad.
President Cyril Ramaphosa warned against a June 30 deadline set by vigilante groups for undocumented foreigners to leave, calling it an attempt at destabilizing the country.
South Africa cannot address migration alone. Through SADC, the African Union, and bilateral form of intolerance. As government, we have put in place security and other measures to deal with any attempts to destabilize our country, whether by citizens or foreign nationals, and we will not tolerate any attempts to destabilize the country by anyone, whether marching or otherwise. Our security forces are ready, and those who transgress the measures that we're putting in place will definitely need the might of the law.
Bad might happen to you if you are other African country, other Africans living in other South Africans. You know what I mean? So let's start with the pauperism. And pauperism is, this is like in 1800, this kind of idea of pauperism in the West and Britain is about people that lives in abject poverty. They depend on government handout to survive. These people, some of them believe that they cannot do anything within their power to survive as a human being. They are in abject poverty, like the poverty level, is something like is like a disease. You know what I mean? It's like a disease, and the what happened in the 1800 is like people in that situation they give even like because these people like the people that are rich that then in the West, they think that these people like, why do you have people like that in their countries? Like they give them badge. If the government is gonna be handing you handout to survive your basic needs, they're gonna give you badge so that people, if you walk on the street, they, when these rich people see you, they will know like this is your life of pauperism. And we have the same mentality they brought to South Africa, like with the apartheid. I think it came from apartheid, and some of the, I'm not saying all Africa, South Africans are like that, but this pauperism is what is causing this trouble we have in Africa. Because some in South Africa, because it's only in South Africa that you can have this kind of pauperism, like government handout. And you know why? Because you can see in South Africa that have more, like you can say maybe 9 or 10% of white living there. That's why. So this is welfare system. They bring this welfare system. You cannot get this welfare system anywhere in Africa, apart from that's South Africa. And welfare system is good for some people, but it's very, very dangerous. It can, it can, it can, destroy the a whole group of people. Like they believe in, Section 80. Like if you're in America, you know what I mean? Like benefit. If you're in UK, people that depend on benefit. Government handing out. I think that's what happened to South Africa. So some of them they becomes helpless. They becomes helpless. They think like, we can't do anything for our life. Other people have to do it. Other people have to give us handout. And they keep giving them handout. So let's jump to June 30th. Whether they're gonna follow up to their threat. People, if you are other Africans, you're still in South Africa. I think you have to You have to be very careful as we approach this June 30th, because you don't know what these ruffians are up to. These people, they don't have human heart. I tell you that. They don't have human, they don't have any love, they don't care. And let me circle back to the Ramaphosa, the South African president, is threatening to deal with people that cause lawlessness or lawbreakers, because people, giving people ultimatum that you're taking laws into your hand. You're now the one making laws for these ruffians are the one making laws or threatening people in South Africa. And this president is coming with a strong word for, he said they have some, they have some plans, to deal with these people if they cause any trouble. But let me tell you why he's coming out to say this. He's not coming. He was there before. He never threatened people that's causing this. Threatening people, other Africans in their country. He never said anything. But you know why? Because of now, some rich African, South Africans are feeling the impact of what those ruffians are doing, because the ruffians, they don't have any corporate business. That's the problem. South Africa, they have MTN, and they have this television network, DSTV. That's all African South African companies, and they are doing business in other Africans, and they see how African countries are now threatening to boycott their businesses. So the impact, the financial impact, is now affecting them, and now they are making calls to this do nothing president to say, look, you have to say something, you have to do something about this. This is affecting our business, because it's all about money. Once it comes to money, that's when the government all of a sudden wake up. And this is the same person that he didn't take time to go to Hague or to sue the Israelis, because of what they consider they treating the Palestine. You know what I mean? This is a clown calling himself a president, going to defend the Arabs. They can't even defend all the African. He can't even do anything about Africans that are being killed or being wounded in his own country. He calls himself an African. I mean, this is sad, you know what I mean? And it's coming out because now the financial, those in authorities, those that are worthy, they're feeling the impact now. That's why he's coming to make this threat. Right from the beginning, I think he supported these people. That's why he kept quiet. He didn't want to take drastic action, because he would have prevented this from escalating. Like, if these people didn't just do demonstrating 1 day or 2 days, they did this like several days. You would have nicked this from the bond immediately when they start. So this is not good for our image of as a South Africans. Or even if you're gonna do something about illegal immigrants, you're gonna do something about. But this, for the way they carry the state out, you have spoiled the image of South Africans. I'm not saying that all the South Africans are bad or they are like those ruffians. They are not. They are a small group, but they have power. Because if they don't have power, why shouldn't no one be arrested for what they have been doing to other African countries and living in their country? This is sad. You know what I mean? Peace.